Well, guys, we're finally here to be talking about another movie that I absolutely adored when, when I was younger, and we're going to be talking about Vampire in Brooklyn. So, obviously has Eddie Murphy in here playing Maximilian, who is a vampire who has traveled to New York, who he is a very smooth talking monster, and the entirety of the film is based around him meeting and wanting Angela Bassett's character by the name of Rita. Now, Rita, she has a ability that is very deep in her, that her mother had the ability to see things into darkness, and so does she. And she's had a very hard time doing it. She has, she's a detective, and she has her partner with her by the name of course, Justice. And again, her and Justice have a very good relationship, but it also starts developing rather quickly because they care for each other, but at the same time, they don't want to mix work with pleasure. And it also makes things crazy when Max starts using his abilities and trying to gain information on Rita so he can get her and turn her, because apparently he is the last of of his kind, and she has the ability to become a vampire, but only a half unless he gets her to fully turn because of her lineage. Now, this was actually it was like a horror slash comedy, because when he gets introduced, he rips apart these Italian mobsters, and he starts talking to the one Julius, who is kind of like the comedic relief as well, and along him. And there's a lot of comedy in here. I mean, again, this is when I think Eddie Murphy was just really raw in his comedy and just being ruthless and very conniving, very manipulative, very charming, but also just a big smartass, because he played as, a preacher, or as Vito, and all these characters, and it was absolutely hilarious. And we even had the late John Witherspoon in here, who did an amazing job as well with the whole the comment, like where he's talking about a big old wolf. He looks at Justice. He's like, "You ever seen the Wolf Man?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "To the 25th power." you know, there's lines in this movie that are just absolutely hilarious. And again, I would say if you're a fan of Eddie Murphy, if you're a fan of Angela Bassett, if you're a fan of comedy, if you're a fan of horror, definitely don't sleep on this film. I mean, again, it does get cheesy at times, but again, it was made in the late '90s. It's an older film. It's when I would definitely say Eddie Murphy was in his prime, and he was just really coming up in the world of, I would say, comedy and a little bit of horror. Because again, he's done a few horror movies, but this was one of the main horror movies that I think he really probably just astounded the audience, because not only by his performance of playing multiple characters, but also playing as a monster, and believing this monster had a heart, but at the same time he only cared about himself. He was very, manipulating. He just did not care about anything other than getting, Rita. And I will say once again that there was scenes in this that are absolutely hilarious. There's scenes in here that make you go, "Oh dang, I didn't think they'd do that." Again, if you've never seen the film, but it's one of those films, when you watch it, you can't help but laugh at certain comments when he's trying to Julius is trying to bring his coffin up for, Max, and then he sits on it, he grabs him, he's like, "Never sit on my coffin," and he's like, "I don't like mirrors," and he just tosses him in the mirror, because again, he's a vampire. And again, the way the design was for his vampire face was kind of old school a little bit, almost very reminiscent to Buffy, but it was more monstrous. He still had yellow eyes, he still had teeth, he still had abilities. It almost was like a Dracula thing. It pretty much was very much of a Dracula esque character. Again, a mysterious stranger coming from nowhere, being very dominant, being very intense, all these different things, and just kind of, mesmerizing, different women, or, becoming another person. That way he could develop information, and also there was just a tremendous amount of comedy. But I enjoy this film. I think it's a great film. There's moments in here, especially when he plays as the preacher, that absolutely is hilarious, or playing as Vito, or again as Max. So again, hats off to Eddie Murphy for this character. This is a great character. And then there's other moments in here. I think if you like certain comedy, either by Caden Henderson, who played Julius, or even by the late John Witherspoon, I think he did a great job as well. So again, guys, check out this if you haven't, and either way, I think you're definitely going to enjoy it. So let me know what you guys think about Vampire in Brooklyn. If you've seen it, if you have, what you think about it. If you've never seen it, definitely give it a shot. I do highly recommend this, like I've been saying, and hopefully you guys enjoyed. And I'll see you as always on the next one.